I love The Incredibles. Why do I love The Incredibles? Glad you asked. Well, Bob Parr, otherwise known as Mr. Incredible, undergoes pretty substantial growth, evolving from the glory-seeking Mr. Incredible, redefining his ideals of heroism and masculinity, fatherhood. In the prologue, set during the golden age of superheroes, Mr. Incredible is at the height of his career, confident, admired, and driven by a desire for action. When superheroes are banned, it leaves him resentful, stuck in a dull insurance job, yearning for the excitement of those golden years, his former life. His dissatisfaction with this new life is very clear. His home life suffers because he is emotionally distant, unable to appreciate the importance of his role as a father and as a husband. His self-worth and his pride are still attached to the glory days. His success on the initial mission, fighting the Omnidroid, restores his confidence, but it also blinds him to the facade he's taken to, the lies he's telling his family, being manipulated by Syndrome. By the third act, his growth is complete when he's rescued by his wife and his children. He realizes that his greatest strength lies not in his powers, but in his relationships. Usually, I'm on the fence about like power of friendship type endings, but because it's so well done in this movie and it's of a standout quality, I don't care in the slightest. He learns to trust and rely on his family rather than trying to shield them from danger or bear all these burdens alone. In the penultimate battle against the Omnidroid, Bob fights not for fame, but to protect his family and his community. His final acceptance of his role as a father and a protector marks the end of his development. My god, it's so good. Furthermore, Helen is the real glue holding the Parr family together in The Incredibles. While Bob is daydreaming, Helen is holding down the fort, keeping everything running smoothly. One of the best things about Helen is just how much she handles in this movie emotionally and physically. Her stretching powers are like the perfect visual metaphor for how much she has to juggle, constantly being pulled in different directions, both literally and figuratively. From worrying about Violet to keeping Dash in check to, well, keeping everyone in check, voice crack. Speaking of voices, Holly Hunter's voice brings so much to the character of Ellen. Her voice is warm and reassuring, but has like an authority kind of backing to it. And those rare moments when she really loses it, like when she screams over the intercom on the jet as it's being shot down, it's so raw and emotional and powerful. It hits hard because Helen is normally the only one with the head screwed on properly, the only one that's composed all the time. So when she breaks, you really feel it. It's a level of voice acting you very rarely see in kids' movies. Dash and Violet are the classic brother-sister duo, so their differences set up a natural tension. Dash thinks Violet is too uptight, Violet thinks Dash is too reckless and annoying. But once they're thrown in the deep end together, they're forced to rely on each other to survive. Dash learns to take things more seriously, while Violet begins to step into her powers and come out of her shell. There's this great moment where they've just sort of arrived on the island and they're in the cave. They're scared and unsure, but they comfort each other just, well, without saying much really, just a quiet understanding that they're in it together. Dash has some excellent moments in this film. Speedsters are probably my favourite category of superheroes, but it's so rarely done properly in movies, especially live action. I know this isn't live action, but I'm just saying. It's nice to see a speedster whose power isn't cranked to 11, you know, when they're so fast it takes you out of the movie. You watch The Flash in anything or Quicksilver, and once you realise they could just speed blitz anyone, it kind of pulls you out of the immersion, or it pulls me out anyway. Yeah, to me it kind of spoils every scene they're in. Don't get me wrong, this scene and this scene especially are awesome, but the fact that Quicksilver doesn't just blitz Apocalypse is, yeah, Dash is fast, but he's not that fast. I love this part where he gets scared as he's like approaching the water. He sees it coming, and then he squeezes his eyes shut, and then he realizes he's fast enough to just run right over it. It's far. Dash and Violet's dynamic adds heart and realism to The Incredibles. They're not perfect, but they learn to work together and support each other. In short, what makes this movie, and frankly most movies, good is the human element, the characters, and we get an ensemble of relatable family archetypes with nuanced mini-arcs. It's relatable for everyone. Depressed dads stuck in dead-end jobs yearning for their former youth, frustrated mothers just trying their best to hold everything together, anxious, angsty teenage girls that just want to fit in, young boys bursting at the seams with energy, just wanting to express themselves. But this is a superhero movie. and no excellent superhero movie is complete without an excellent villain.
INCREDI-BOYYYYYYY!
You're not affiliated with me!
Syndrome is brilliant, capital B brilliant, a villain born from envy, rejection, but in this world bursting with superheroes, a man without powers slaughters them all one by one using deceit and manipulation and obviously his own ingenuity, all that self-made tech. And that gives us this excellent scene where Bob sees, yet again, one by one, each and every single one of the superheroes that the Omnidroid has killed. It's actually quite a dark scene when you sit and, you know, dwell on it, but it's one that isn't so on the nose that it's too much for kids. There's a lot of maturity in it that adults can appreciate. I knew Jason Lee from Mallrats and Alvin and the Chipmunks. Putting him in a lead villain role, you don't expect to get such masterful line deliveries such as this.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
This guy steals the show, man.
Sly dog, you got me monologuing. Busy!
Awesome villain, check. What else do you need for an awesome superhero movie? Awesome moments. We've covered a few, but let's run over a few more specifics. Every character gets their moments, everyone gets their limelight. Bob's training montage is quite memorable, but obviously his fight with the Omnidroid, both of the fights, are very memorable. Basically every scene with Helen is a highlight, but I especially appreciate the little espionage scene when she's sneaking into the base and knocking all of Syndrome's lackeys out. Dash's little water moment is cool, but I especially like this moment where he wanders through the cave that they stumbled upon and figures it's sort of an exit point for the rocket's exhaust. Is that what it's called? He basically saves both his and Violet's life here when he runs her out. Yet again, pretty dark if you think about it, because if he didn't go and explore, read between the lines, they would have both, you know, been... Yeah. Violet also saves the entire family at the end here. This chase scene where she's invisible in the water has a great tension building too. But point being, every character has their moments and every character has a purpose. Nobody is neglected or made redundant. In my Avengers review, I said that I appreciated that every character, even those with, you know, lesser powers such as like Black Widow, still had their place in the Battle of New York. Same goes here, except it's only balanced 4 ways, so absolutely everybody gets their time in the spotlight. Even the one character I haven't mentioned, Jack, is pretty solid comic relief until the end of the movie where it's actually revealed he has powers and he makes a mockery of Syndrome. It's hilarious. So all of that and the additional level of like mature commentary on top, the corruption of Bob's boss and his comeuppance, also another memorable side character, as well as 2 other largely memorable side characters. Everyone knows Frozone. He's basically a speedster in of himself, and it's cool to see such a casual use of superpowers like this. Or this. Of course, Edna steals every scene she's in. Many would argue she's the most memorable or most iconic part of the movie, and I wouldn't be mad at you for saying that. Not only is it a great kids movie, animated movie, but it's a great superhero movie too. Like, it's genuinely in contention with the other excellent superhero movies. It balances all that brilliance with being suitable for all ages and all audiences. Top notch. Now, the sequel. Personally, I think this film's overhated. Well, I don't think anyone hates it, so let's just say underrated. First, let me address some common criticisms. I can understand this. Helen is very much the main character of this one, more so than Bob was to the first movie, but come on, give Elastigirl center stage for a little bit. It's not like the other characters are neglected, they just face other challenges. Sure, the screenslaver is not as compelling as Syndrome. She's not a bad villain, and frankly her reasoning, her motivations are interesting and just as justified as Syndrome's, if not more. But it's just one of those things where you really can't say why she's not as good, but you just know she isn't. You know what I mean? Sometimes, like, unfortunately, sometimes the general consensus is just correct, and because a lot of this is subjective, you just can't. You just gotta go with what your heart is saying. And my heart is saying, I think Syndrome's the better villain. The Screenslaver is a very respectable villain. They took the concept and did everything that they could with it. Why am I putting these on? Well, it picks up right after the first, and every character feels more or less just like they did in the first movie. Maybe a percentage point or two more goofy than their first outings, but it's not to the movie's detriment. I guess every sequel should aim to expand the world somewhat, and that this movie definitely did. More usage of Jack and his development of more powers. I am a big fan of all the maniacal scenes we get with him causing chaos. We get more heroes, they all have some cool designs and powers. Edna is obviously a highlight again, as is Frozone. It's nice to see no regression too. Like sometimes sequels of kids movies almost reset characters and then they have to redo all the development from the first movie over again. Dash and Violet, for example, are just as competent as they are at the end of the first movie, as is shown during the Underminer sequence. The progression in animation quality, of course, has to be mentioned. There's some slight modernization in the designs of the characters, which I'm kind of neutral on, it doesn't really bother me. Also leads to some pretty good choreography. Every scene with Elastigirl in the first movie is interesting visually, because of her abilities. Also, we didn't really see any Super v Super in the first movie. It was just the Incredibles versus Syndrome or the Omnidroid. So to see two super-powered humanoids go at it, it is an interesting development for the franchise. The dynamics and chemistry between all of the Power family remains true to the first movie. The general tone and humour is mostly the same. Like I said before, maybe a little goofier, a touch more slapsticky, but like, whatever. It's not to the movie's detriment. If you like the first one, you're gonna like the second one. It just doesn't leave a lasting impression the same way the first one did, but it's still a fine movie. So they're making a third one now. I don't know if they've released any plot details or anything, but it's fun to discuss these things. I think a time skip could be interesting. They built on Jack's powers a lot more in the second one, but to say that was just a prelude to the third movie where he's maybe a little bit older and he's just completely overpowered. Like, imagine he just ends up being like the Goku of the Incredibles verse. Like in the Saiyan saga, the Z Fighters / the Power family just stood around killing time, waiting for their savior to arrive. Imagine Jack just instant transmissions in and stomps the bad guy, flipping from power to power. We've pretty much had a full double arc switcheroo reversal for Bob and Helen, so there's not really much more you can do with those characters. Unless like years down the line, the superhero life is putting strain on their marriage or something. I don't really want to see that, to be honest. I'd love to see more development of Jack's and Violet's powers, especially. If this is the third and presumably final movie, there's no harm in scaling these guys to the max for like the final battle. Give Dash like a Quicksilver-esque scene. Maybe there's a Compound V equivalent in universe that lets him like triple his power or something. Not sure who the villain could be, but I think maybe a full-on super villain this time, because each time it's been a normal person kinda manipulating and using external means. So to see a full-on super villain and maybe even the return of the Underminer, that'd be nuts. Until then, thank you for watching. Always very much appreciated. Stay tuned.